Hello, this is Vance, and this is Friday, February the 10th, 2017. These are the CL trades for today using the slow hand method for price action. A couple of issues today. First of all, I wasn't trading for today, and the trades that I got marked on here, I didn't take them. What I'm doing here today is I had to attend a funeral today, and didn't really feel like doing it. Didn't have to go till later on this afternoon, but it was to a close family friend. I didn't want to, so I had to go to a funeral. I attended that today, so that was done. However, I did do some practice today, and won't tell you about the practice currently, but let me just show you what I saw on the chart. I want to talk about practice, and I want to talk about something that I've just kind of occurred to me. It really kind of struck a chord with me for a couple of reasons, but let me talk to you a little bit about that in a few minutes. But first of all, what I want to talk about is what happened in the overnight. We had this kind of rise up. Now, remember, on Wednesday we had that big build on oil, and now we can see that in the overnight, the first thing that we had happen is that price poked up to 53.80. Now, I'm still trading the March contract, probably going to be switching over to the April contract as of Monday, likely. So because of volume, I think volume has really caught up to it or very close to it. This 537,000 contracts traded today, and the April contract was 251,000. So probably next Monday or Tuesday, that's when it'll be switching over. Anyway, the point is that when price traded up, it traded up to 53.80, 53.60, I mean. And then, this is at 7 a.m., it moved up even higher. And so by the time I was even really looking at it, it was at 9 o'clock. Now, like I said, I didn't trade any of this today. I was just doing some other work, so I had no intention of trading today. So that's why I didn't. But I still watched. I just looked at some of the charts and was doing a little bit of practicing, and I won't talk to you about that at this point in time, but in the future I'll probably mention it and see how it goes. Anyways, what happened was that when I looked at the overnight, we looked at this pullback, saw it was measured move, and this is an area where I was thinking there was going to be some concern or some as far as measured move is concerned. So we had this movement, kept grinding its way up, and just really at 9 o'clock, just before, and this is 9 o'clock right here. Pardon me, that's not 9 o'clock. This is 9 o'clock right here. 9:03 is right in this area. So price did move up, and then it turned around and kind of rolled over. Now, I marked this as a short. It's a pretty difficult one to see. I mean, you can't really tell until it gets to this area right here. Let me just make this a little bigger. The reason I've got it marked this way in this fuchsia is the problem is that, I was looking at this is a double bottom right here, but if you look at this particular trade, you see prices stacking up, and do you take this trade? I mean, you don't really know. It might just be a second entry, but as these bars, everything is bearish right here. So I wouldn't be your stop would be above this area. So it's not, and there's room to get out. So at least to these bottoms here, it does bounce. We have this bounces right here, pulls back. Doesn't give you, I don't know about entering on the first one because of this drop. Now, it didn't really come down really quickly, but you can see that price is kind of stacking up here. When it does dip down, this is a second entry long right here. So do you take this trade? If you would have taken it, it depends on where you took it, how many contracts you can get out. Now, this is a 15-tick stop box right here. You see, this is pretty big. So if you get it on in this trade here and you kept your stop low, you probably would have gotten break even on this trade. It would have got 10 ticks and pulled back. So I didn't think this was a bad setup. That's why I marked it. It didn't go to completion. Now, if you had hung on to it, or if you would have if you would have gotten break even here, price dips down a little bit further. Can you take this trade, or maybe even this one? I'm not sure about that. It looks like a very strong bar. You got to figure that we may be testing this other side because of this strong bar here. But again, you have to really be cautious. Now, your stop is good. Your target is before this earlier top, but it'd have to break through the previous high in order to get there. So that's something for you to consider. Price does pull back here, goes into this fairly tight range, and the tight range is really about here. You can see price turns over here, peaks out, comes back down, and then drops down a little bit lower. Finds a little bit of support, and again, you could perhaps take that trade expecting maybe a measured move off of this bottom right here because of this drop up. Now you do have this overlap, and once it finds some type of a bottom, it would have given you your 15 ticks, but it didn't quite get to this peak. And once it got to here, there was just too much resistance near I think this area, and it kind of really turned over at 15 ticks or somewhere like that until it had an opportunity to start turning over that later on. Now, this is 1 o'clock, and all in all, it was a pretty tight range, especially after 10:30. It didn't really move that much. You see there's 15 ticks here, probably 20 ticks all the way through, and this is a good 2 hours, and this is 2:30 right here. So really, I don't know if you want to take trades like this. If you're sitting around watching this, it's you have to exercise a lot of patience and try to take trades really right at really right at the bottom of the fringes of these ranges, or and that's a tough thing to do because you really can't wait for a bar to complete until you kind of get in, because then you don't have enough room for a target. So you really have to put a limit sell order at the top here, and of course try to put a limit sell order just above this bar right here. It's an awfully strong bar, so you really have to or wherever you're going to get in, do you actually put a sell order after you see a bar like this one? That's a pretty tough thing. And same with this one. You see a strong bar like this, a strong move up, and you really put a sell order there and then sit through all this until it goes to completion. You really have to know what you're doing in order to do that. So you have to have patience, have to have a lot of experience, and unfortunately that's just not a trade that an individual who's just learning can take. Okay? Now, what else I want to talk about? This is what I want to talk about, and I want to talk about a couple things that have really come to my attention. Just let me get my chart up here for a second. Okay, I got a chart here. And it really talks about why can't I get better? And I really kind of geared this toward traders. This was a TED Talk that I had heard just some time ago. And I'll give you the address if you want to see it. And what it really was referred to is he asked himself the question why there's things that were important to his life that he wasn't getting better at, despite the fact that he spent a lot of time at them. And it was things like his job and his things like being a better father, being a better friend. And despite the fact that he was working at a lot of these things and working quite diligently at them, especially his job. And I started thinking about this, and I started thinking about the same thing is true for many traders. Why can't traders get better? I mean, I've never seen, many of them are a dedicated group. They are very intelligent by and large, and they spend a lot of time trading and researching and doing these kinds of things. But still, there's so many of them that are not profitable, and yet they work very hard at it. So I recalled this talk, I put this chart up, and I wanted to talk about it in reference to trading. It's the same information that he put up on his chart. If you want to see the actual talk in its entirety, send me an email and I will send you the link. I'll show you where it is. Anyway, it turns out that people spend most of their time in one of two modes, either learning or performance mode. Okay? Learning mode is an area in which our goal is to improve. And so we undertake activities for improvement. We concentrate on skills that we haven't mastered yet. And mistakes are to be expected. But yet most individuals, whether at work or a job or doing something else, spend most of their time in the performance mode. And the performance mode, where the goal is to do your best, they spend time on activities for execution. You concentrate on things that you have already mastered, and your mistakes have to be minimized. It turns out that most of us, because our performance doesn't improve, is because many of us spend far too much time in the performance mode and not enough time in the learning mode. So for instance, in the performance mode, we are expected to do our best. At our jobs, we can't have mistakes. We have to get A's on the test. We are, instead of playing in a sport, we want to play games. We don't want to spend time practicing. But how ridiculous is that? We should be spending most of our time in the learning mode. In other words, looking for activities for improvement, for concentrating on things that we haven't mastered yet and where mistakes are expected. And those mistakes, they can't be of such a high value that we're afraid to make them. Because if they're of a high value that we're afraid to make them, we'll make even more mistakes and our performance will go down. So why is this referred to trading? I hear this so often. Individual trading and performance mode is execution. Performance mode should be considered live trading, when you trade live. And yet, when I talk to individuals, the first thing that they ask, are people live, and what is their record of winning? Okay? So if you're spending most of your time live trading, it's no coincidence that your account's going to disappear, because you use those activities to do your best. You haven't mastered the skills. You need to spend time in the learning mode, and that means simulation or paper trading. So you have to look for activities for improvement in the learning mode. You concentrate on skills that you haven't mastered yet, because mistakes are expected to happen. Now, if you can't afford the mistakes that you are expected to happen, they have to be of a low threshold. They have to be easy to digest. I'm not saying that but you use your practice time to improve areas that you really want to work on. Now, how does that report to me? For many times, I have talked about my inability to take reversal trades. I've mentioned that if I'm in a trade, I can't take the opposite side of a trade. I've thought about this, and I've kind of thought about this, and I figured out there's got to be a way for me to do that. Why is it that if I get so stuck in one side of a trade, one way or the other, that I can't see myself reversing? And yet it should be something that I could do. Well, it turns out, and this is what I've kind of discovered for myself, is that how do you practice that without risking your account? Well, risking real dollars until such time as that you can put it into performance and then do your best. How do you do that? Well, it turns out there's a couple of exercises that you can do to do just that. And so that's what I've been working on. So I've been working on those exercises. And when I get to the point where I feel like I have that ability mastered, I'm going to put that into my live trading. And I've been making some progress. Won't tell you what it is at this point in time. Yeah, that's for me. However, what I see is individuals trying to learn the slow hand method and discounting their learning of it. In other words, I've heard many, many traders say that, yes, I'm taking trades, but they're in sim. Or I've done this, but it doesn't count because it's in sim. And yet they don't give themselves credit for the improvement or the changes that they're making as they're going along. And I hear this over and over and over. And the fact of the matter is that if that's the way they approach learning, then their performance is going to suffer. Because as soon as they get into the performance mode, they can't expect to be understanding how to do this or how to trade live using a different method right out of the gate. They have to expect that there's going to be some challenges. However, if you make a mistake, take a step back and go back, or try to minimize those mistakes and go back and learn it until you have it cold. And that is really, I've given individuals exercises that have asked me, and that what these exercises were based on. Do you know how many people actually do the exercises that I give them? Hardly any. Never. They don't do it. It's boring, or they don't think it's of any value, or they don't know what they're supposed to be learning. And quite frankly, some of these exercises won't take very long. And yet, I don't understand why that is. In other words, give you an example. What I'm trying to do, and this is just for me, is that I'm trying to learn how to reverse or to take another side of a trade when it presents itself. It turns out there's a way for me to learn how to do that. Now, the only way for me to learn how to do that is that I'm not doing it in my live account. I'm going to have to do it. I'm going to have to practice this until such time as I feel comfortable using it. And the reason that I'm going to do that is because I have to get my mindset right. How long will it take? I figure it's going to take a couple of hours a day, maybe on replay, but it's a couple hours a day over a course of 2 or 3 weeks before I'm ready. 15 hours, 18 hours? I don't know. Until such time as I feel comfortable. But that particular practice is very, very specific. It's about something that I'm trying to work on, that one aspect of it. Now, my question to you is this. When it comes time for me to pull the trigger, don't you not think that I'll be in a better position to do so? Because I've practiced this. I've practiced this in a paper trading or simulated environment. I think that in fact, it has to be the case. And as a result, that is what most people should do until such time as they've been able to master whatever it is that they're trying to learn on. I mean, you're not going to master it completely. Yes, there's some things in the performance mode that you just have to put in the performance mode. But how many people spend any time in the learning mode, especially when they were talking about trading? I would argue, because most people don't do it. Most people don't. Most of the people always want to look at performance. They're afraid to make mistakes. I have another example. I'm taking this language course, part-time course. First time I've been to it. I won't tell you what it is. It's a native language. It's an Aboriginal language in Canada. And so I go to this course, and it's first night. Nobody knows. I mean, there are some people that maybe have some background on it, but we get a sheet of words, and they're words with different syllables and vowels and so forth. And there's a half a dozen of us in this room. And when it comes down for our turn, now, granted, this is the first time I've ever seen this. I've never seen this before, but the instructor, who is fluent in this language, says that the way that we will learn is that we will repeat these words. We repeat these words individually. Okay, so now it's my turn to repeat these words. So I try to repeat these words, and she'll give me feedback. That's fine. A person in front of me, she gets the same sheet. She doesn't want to do any of it. She doesn't want to even try. And yet she's there to learn this language. She drove all the way there. It's in this room. She paid the fee, and she's sitting there, and she doesn't want to say it. For what reason? Because the only reason I can say is that she thinks that she has to do well at it. She doesn't understand that we're there to learn together. And if she's not willing to put herself into, it's obvious that she hasn't mastered. Otherwise, she wouldn't be in the course if she'd already mastered the language. We're all in the same boat. My reaction was that I can't say anything to her, but I would suggest to her is that she should, unless she does this, how is she going to learn how to speak? In other words, and not only that, she was making excuses for her husband, who said that he had a little bit of prior knowledge, so he sounded better. I didn't think he sounded that much better anyway. I had about the same, I was on the same level, and I didn't work in something like that. But the point is that if you're not willing to make mistakes, if the only way you can improve is by making some mistakes, how are you going to do that in a live account? It's no wonder that people's counts disappear because they're trying to learn to trade live. You can't do that. Now, all right, that's enough of a rant. I'm pretty passionate about this because I wish I had $1 for every person that I talk to that discounts paper trading or practice trading as of no value. I cannot for the life of me understand that. It has value. No, if you paper trade for your entire life, are you going to be able to retire comfortably? No, you aren't. But do you honestly believe that if you go straight to live trading, you're going to learn how to trade, just trading real money all the time? It doesn't work that way. People that are very good at trading, are very good at they can lose millions of dollars, billions of dollars, in fact, despite the fact that they're trading live money. Why? What is that? I can't understand why people have this tendency to think that live performance or actual live trading is so much superior to practicing. It's two different things. Okay, that's enough. I apologize for getting so passionate, but it's something that really tears at me from that perspective. Anyway, this is Vance. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.